Kalinowski. Here. Mr. Bush.
Here.
Vice President Darrow is absent. President McClelland.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members have the board minutes from our previous work session on April 8th and our regular meeting on the 22nd of April. Without any changes to those minutes, could I have a motion for approval of those minutes?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Newmoff, Mr. Bush, roll call, please.
Mr. Newmoff.
Yes.
Mr. Bush.
Yes.
Ms. Kalinowski.
Yes.
President McClelland.
Yes. Now to tonight's agenda. Any additions or corrections?
Yes.
There is an addendum agenda this evening that includes a correction and 2 additional action items.
With those items, seek a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bush, Ms. Kalinowski, roll call, please.
Mr. Bush.
Yes.
Ms. Kalinowski.
Yes.
Mr. Newmoff.
Yes.
President McClelland.
Yes. Communications to the board, Mr. Sawyers.
Thank you, President McClelland. Board of Education members, as we approach the end of the school year, we are very grateful to our outstanding faculty, the teachers across our entire school district, our staff, and of course the administration for fastly approaching the end of the 2018-19 school year. It has gone very quickly, but I think many will tell you that they're probably happy at the same time. Kids are ready. They're getting more and more anxious every single day. We had a very successful prom this past weekend for New Albany High School. All of the end of the year celebrations continue. I call it May Mayhem. There's basically something every single night during the week, during the month of May. But it's an exciting time because it's a celebration of our students. So we want to thank our kids. We want to thank faculty, staff, administrator, teachers, and everyone else that's been involved in the current school year as we approach the end and finish strong. And of course, our parents. There are over 10,000 parents in our school district that help us be successful every single day. In addition to that, our community at large. So we are very, very grateful for everything that they've done to bring over 5,000 kids to our campus every single day and help us be successful. State testing has winded down. Makeups are coming to the close and end. Everything has been submitted to the state. AP testing was mailed, so things have been boxed. So all of the formalized, standardized testing that's required has hopefully been concluded, and we will see the results this summer and demonstrate that our kids, again, achieved higher levels of student achievement, increased academic growth across the school district, and tonight you'll hear about their well-being as the board presentation for update. So as we approach the end of the school year, you're welcome to continue to attend all the student events. I know you have access to them in the calendars. There's all kinds of opportunities, but again, we thank everyone for their participation this school year.
Great. Next is plea, update from plea. Yes, please.
Good evening. I am Carla Toplak. I teach first grade here in the district, and I am here to share a few highlights from our staff members. Elliot Lemberg, the high school theater director, recently completed a class at Ashland University called The Theory and Practice of Curriculum Development, and he's looking forward to using that knowledge from that class to continue to work on the audit of the drama theater department curriculum. On Thursday, May 2nd, the Easton E3 Learning Lab with Patrick Galloway and Sandy Reed hosted the COSI Science Festival for our community. The event made science come alive in several hands-on inquiry-based ways that could apply to all ages. I think they're hoping to make that a repeat. Some Jerome High School, Dublin Jerome High School teachers came to visit the humanities department here at our high school, and that allowed for teacher collaboration between these 2 high-achieving districts. And last but not least, there were 6 first grade teachers who collaborated with the Columbus Zoo's Partners in Conservation this year to bring awareness on conserving the African rainforest. And they raised some money and also collected some small devices to recycle in their efforts to help Rwanda and Africa. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share those with you.
Great.
Thank you
very
Thank
much.
you.
Discussion items this evening. Any board liaison reports? With none, we'll move on to Mr. Hood for our well-being update.
Well, good evening, Superintendent Sawyers and President McClellan, board members. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. And I want to start with just a thank you. As I was preparing for this presentation this evening, I was reminded that it was this board meeting 1 year ago
You were hired.
that I introduced myself and accepted the position as Director of Student Services, Safety, and Security. So just another thank you for me, and letting you know that it continues to be an absolute privilege for me to serve New Albany, playing the local schools. And it's really one of the greatest pleasures of my life to have been involved in this position. So just a big thank you. It's my pleasure tonight, as part of that, a few weeks ago, I came and gave you an update on the safety portion of what I do. Tonight, it's a pleasure to come and give you an update on kind of the wellness portion of my work. There's a kind of a saying, though, that has gone around forever that says, you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with. And so it's my pleasure tonight to introduce to you a couple of just remarkable parent leaders that are part of the Wellbeing Initiative that are going to be joining me here at the podium in just a minute. So I want to introduce Sarah Underhill, that's here in the purple, and then Diane Herman. They'll be joining me here to talk about just their work this year, what they've done to help lead the initiative. And I think you'll be impressed with what's been accomplished in just a short year. The thought of giving you just a foundation, though, before we get to them, as a reminder of how our framework is sort of set up. The diagram on the right here shows kind of just sort of how New Albany operates, just kind of in general in terms of our school system. It's like a wheel, and at the hub of that wheel is everything that drives us. Everything that we do is based around wanting to increase student achievement, student growth or progress over time, and student well-being. We're driven by some sort of essential questions. The first one is asking, what do we want kids to be able to do? We have this kind of end in mind kind of perspective to our planning. What is the performance objective that we want for this student in the end? And then that drives our curriculum, what we're going to be teaching. But it naturally leads to the next question of how will I know when those students have it or when they've actually learned it? And it draws us through our assessment. In the days of old, when I was in school, that was really a summative assessment. The teacher taught, and then they gave an assessment at the end, and they found out maybe a good portion of the class didn't get it during that teaching. It's a different game now where we still keep that summative assessment, but we're heavily embedded in formative assessment or assessment that's going on all the time that informs our instruction then and helps us change our instruction based on the feedback that we're getting, which takes us into the next question is, as I get that feedback, what do I do if there's a student who's not getting it during the instruction? Or in New Albany, another question that's really common is, what do I do for the student who's mastered it before we even get out of the gates? And it drives this thinking for us of how do I differentiate instruction in my classroom to meet each student's need? We have this just firm commitment that every student that crosses the threshold of our classroom is going to get a year's worth of growth. And sometimes it's that year's worth of growth plus a gap that needs to be made up, which then leads us to the final sort of question that's on this wheel, which is none of those things can really happen in fullness. None of those things can happen in a complete way unless students really feel healthy and well and feel socially, emotionally stable. I'm letting you know that this has been New Albany's framework and plan for a long time. If you move to the other side of the page, it shows you the state's current model of what they have as expectations for schools all across Ohio. 3 of these quadrants have been around for a long time with the state. We've always been well embedded in foundational skills. We've wanted kids for years to be good readers, foundationally solid in numeracy. We've added a technology piece in the recent years. The idea of having students well-rounded has been there for a long time, where we're offering things that help us address the whole child, not just the academic structure of it. Then we added in several years ago this 21st century skills kind of piece where we wanted them to be good problem solvers, good critical thinkers. That became a part of what we were sort of checking schools on. But just recently, really recently, they've added this 4th quadrant, which is on the bottom right, that's talking about the social emotional capabilities of children and the wellness of children. We want them to be so stable that they work well with others, that they're able to persevere during challenges. Now the state of Ohio has this as something that they expect of all schools, But I'm proud to say, long before I came here, New Albany had this commitment to this wellness of students well in place, to the point that we're considered to be a leader in it. Diane and Sarah were just at a meeting this last week with a community leader that said when they come together to talk about school wellness, we hold up New Albany as kind of the banner system to talk about. I was at a meeting at Children's Hospital about a month ago with leaders from all 16 schools in Franklin County, along with a lot of the community resources. And when that conversation changed to a wellness conversation, all eyes came to me, coming from New Albany, not from the work that I've done, but the work that was done prior to me, knowing that New Albany is leading in that way. So I'm very proud to be a part of a program that's had this as a priority for years, literally. When we first started then, we developed this mission and this vision. Our vision is that we want each student to be having a strong sense of well-being. And the key phrase for me there is that we want it to be each student. We're at that point that we want to drill down that each child has this kind of well-being sense among them, not just the preponderance of children. And then the mission statement for us is that we want to empower the community with resources that are out there, because candidly, we are located in a resource-rich community. The organizations that you see listed here are all partnerships that are remarkable, that have received all kinds of national and international acclaim, and they're all community partners that we're currently connected to and using as resources to help meet our needs here. And it's my pleasure here in just a few minutes to introduce you to one of our newest community partners that we'll be sharing about here in just a few moments. So this is kind of our flow chart of how we operate. We've got this foundation that's based in community resources. We use research to identify gaps for children, and then we try our best to go find programming and resources to meet those gaps, to fill those gaps. We want those resources and those programs to have measurable outcomes, to the point that Jess and I were even talking about it on the way over tonight, about wanting to make sure that we have valid measurements that we can rely on as to whether our programs are effective, because we want to analyze that information and then make decisions based off of that. We're committed to this flow chart as to how we service children with programming. Currently, we have about 20 programs in place. We're finishing right now an end of the year review of all of these programs with the leaders from each of those programs, talking about, do those programs still meet our vision? Do they still meet our mission? Does the data show that they're having an impact? And then we're just having candid conversations about, is this worth continuing to invest in? Is this something where we should look at additional resources to meet that need? I'd like to invite Diane and Sarah to come now and talk with you about some of the things that specifically have happened this year that are exciting opportunities for our community.
Thank you all for having us. Sarah and I are both really pleased with our role in supporting the school and the community, in supporting the programs, promoting them, and creating some Well Brigham events. We meet with John frequently, and we really appreciate his support and his encouragement, his guidance in what we are doing. We've continued to meet and maintain relationships with the partners that John's mentioned. Sarah and I have also had contact with all of these people, not just talking about what's happening with the schools, but also with the New Albany parents and the people who live in our New Albany community, and how we're bringing what's happening in the school district to the town, to everybody who's out there, to help encourage and promote this discussion on mental health and well-being. We have over 100 people on our email list to receive updates on what's going on, what the school's doing, what we're doing. We set up our booth, we have our well-being booth, and we've been at curriculum nights and open houses, schedule pickup days to let parents know that these resources are available in the school and that we're there to help support them and help bridge the communication as another way between the parents and the community and the school. And we've made great connections with us, with parents, teachers, and community members. So one place we've always been found are at the R-Factor Parent Education Nights. There were 7 education nights this year, an introduction, and then something touching on each of the 6 tools in the R-Factor toolkit, helping to build culture and promote discipline-based responses We received great feedback from the parents who've been at these presentations on how they're able to incorporate what they've learned with their kids. And when they hear their kids say, you know, Mom, press pause, they kind of know what that means. So that's been really nice. Rocks, Ruling Our Experiences. This program's been going on in the school district for a couple of years, through the 5th to the 8th grade. We've had 4 leaders in the district running it. It's a 20-week evidence-based program, empowerment program for girls, and there's been 60 girls participating in it this year. With the grant that we helped secure with Justice, we're able to train additional leaders. We hosted a girl and a caring adult or parent or mother communication and self-defense Saturday session. And that was with girls in the intermediate school. I was able to stop in at that, and it was just great. They loved it. The leader of Rocks, she was there to talk to the parents, Lisa Hinkleman, and she's just an amazing person. Our goal with this is that every girl in New Albany schools goes through the Rocks program sometime during their 5th to 8th grade year, and we hope that this money that we receive from Justice will help support that.
So another program that the Wellbeing Initiative supports is Sources of Strength. And that is for 3 years, has been in the high school, and for 2 years in the middle school. And basically, they come in and they train the students, teachers, community members. Many of our team have been trained on this program and they talk about these 8 positive factors for mental health. That these are the things that you really need to have in your life to have good mental health. And so things like family support, positive friends, mentors, healthy activities, generosity, spirituality, medical access, and mental health access. So it's something that we look at too, and just what we're bringing to parents as well, that we're kind of looking at all these things, and these are the things that we really want to encourage with them. So the one picture to the right is from last year, a student for an activity. The students get to come up with what they want to do, what they think will promote it. And she thought it would be really cool if everybody wore different colored shirts for the different areas and bring a drone in and take a picture. So that was in May last year, Mayhem. And it was really fun, really cool. And, you know, it just got kids really excited about that. So, and then we just heard the other night a story about one of our friends. She said, oh, is Sources of Strength something that you guys have helped with? And we're like, oh yeah, the Wellbeing Initiative funded that. And she said, oh, because my son he's in 7th grade, and he was sitting alone in the cafeteria last week. And he was waiting for some friends, so he wasn't truly alone, but he looked alone, and he told her that a bunch of Sources of Strength kids went up to him and sat with him. And so she was like, that's amazing. Who does that? And he knew it was the Sources of Strength kids. And so we're really proud of the middle school. I worked with them last year on it, and it's just really, they're doing great things and promoting things that are really important to our students. So I think this has a great potential in our community as well. Another thing that I'm really excited about, I've been talking about for years, is that we are bringing mindfulness activities to the school. So in the last couple of weeks, Lori Bauer from Healthy New Albany has come into the high school and taught urban Zen classes. And urban Zen classes, they were created by Rodney and Colleen Yee, who are amazing yogis. They created it to be in hospitals, actually, to relieve pain, to relieve stress, and kind of all of those things. And as they've done that, they've seen that it really is an accessible thing for all people. They really keep the language very, just urban friendly or suburban friendly. And we had the best time. So we went into Noble Academy, and the first one we did was the afternoon, and the picture on the left is that one. And all but one kid participated that day, but he kind of listened and looked, and there were some giggles, but at the end, particularly one boy who is kind of a sporty guy, his eyes were this big. He's like, what did you do? And what was that? And that was amazing. And I felt so calm. And I mean, he was just amazed by it and was like, I hope, are you guys going to come back? And we said, well, hopefully next year. And then something that was really cool was then we came back on Monday, and the boy who didn't participate on it was a Thursday, did participate on Monday, and then went up and thanked Lori after for bringing it to Noble Academy. And so I get chills every time I talk about that, because it just shows that, just a little bit of showing these kids these tools, and, that it's not weird. It's not, whatever. You don't have to wear anything special, but they're really good things that can help you outside of school. And Lori's great about talking about, just things that you can do on your own. So we also had it for the mental health club, and they loved it, and then asked us to bring it to their relax room, which they have during finals. And so we're working on that, and then we're going to be doing it in detention next week. So it's been so far a great success, and we're hoping to have more of that next year.
Since internet safety and digital citizenship was an area identified as a need to be addressed with the students, Jessie Weinberger came in the fall. She spoke with students and parents. We assisted the counselors with the sale of her book. And because of that, we hosted 2 book groups, one during the day with a middle school counselor and one in the evenings that I helped to lead. And we met for about 7 weeks. And then at the end, Jessie was able to come back and just to talk about her book. So it wasn't so much talking about her findings, but and talking about the book and how she went around doing it and answering specific questions. As a branch off from this, the parents that met during the day and a few from the evening, they went to the Apple store to get instruction on parental controls with their devices and what to use at home. And then there's a group that's also meeting and reading and discussing the iGen book by Jean Twenge. So it's really great to see how some of these things started in the school are carrying over into the community to meet the needs of our kids. Let's see, the Jefferson series, Glenn Close, when she came in January, it was the 4th annual talk on mental health through the New Albany Community Foundation. She was inspirational to about 1,000 kids, high school students across central Ohio. We were able to bring Caroline Claudel and Katie Vatke, who are in this picture. They're the founders of the High School Mental Health Club. We had them join us in the evening and have a chance to meet Glenn, and it was really just a special evening for them and added to the whole connection.
And I just want to point out that they look really cool and calm and collected, and I look way excited. like you guys are way cooler than me.
Yeah, exactly.
You should Photoshop yourself into the picture.
I know, right? Exactly. I was at our booth outside,
Yeah, that's why Sarah's so excited.
Exactly. I wasn't at the booth, but it was great. I was right next to Nationwide Children's Hospital on her sleeve, so I was kind of promoting our whole well-being stuff.
Yeah.
This spring, Caroline, who was in the last slide, and another student, Chloe Gonzalez, who presented to this board last time, they interned with us as part of their Mosaic requirements. So they were with us several hours a week, meeting at Starbucks at our office. They came up with the idea of having a volunteer fair as the idea of making volunteering and connecting meaningfully with volunteer organizations. As volunteering, it's been shown to have a positive mental health effect. We're like, this is right up Wellbeing Alley. So we met with Michael Carr at the high school, with John, Mark McNichols, the service learning coordinator at the high school. And we hosted this fair during Eagle Period, which was actually happened during Peace Week. About 16 organizations from New Albany and Central Ohio came, and we had about 300 students, freshmen, sophomore, and juniors, because the seniors should have had this all done. Theoretically. So it was really great. It was well attended. The students seemed excited. We talked with some of the organizations afterwards. They were very pleased. They got 20 to 30 names of kids, and then if that trickles down, one organization said if she was able to tell and connect with one student to have them learn about food scarcity in the Columbus area, for her, that was a win. She's like, and I talked to several, so it was a great day. So we're looking to have this again next year. Suggestions have been to happen in the fall, so they can happen during the school year. We would like to expand it again to the parents in the community. We kind of always try and think of that route, like how can we reach more people? Sarah had the idea like that her and her family, they like to volunteer over the summer. So maybe we have it in the fall and the spring. We'll kind of look into all of that.
Hopefully we'll have more interns. I love the interns. We had a health and wellness fair with, in collaboration with Healthy New Albany that ended up being on one of the 2 coldest days of the year. And people still came. It was amazing. And, you know, we had a lot of different organizations such as Mary Haven and the opioid, we were talking about them today, the Denial Ohio people and the police station. We had Caroline and Katie who brought their service dogs, and that was a really big hit. We had our counselors from the school and from Concord Counseling, and it really worked out because they were across the way from Make Kindness Contagious. We have a picture later who had activities for the kids. So the kids were right here kind of working on friendship bracelets and different things like that. And then the parents were over talking to the counselors, which I thought was really great. So we had teachers from the high school Sources of Strength there talking about that. We had Urban Zen, which later I heard that those 3 girls were pretty much there the whole time. I was like, she's like, oh, I want to make them go. Like, wow. So we had to think about that for next time. But those 3 girls really loved it.
Really like.
And then that's the Make Kindness Contagious corner, kindness corner, and then members of our team. Amy was really, really helpful with that. So it went amazingly, and we're hoping to do that again with Healthy New Albany next year. And we had a lot of great feedback from that.
NAMI, that's the National Alliance for Mental Illness. We connected with them this spring, the Franklin County branch. So there's NAMI's National, there's in Ohio, and NAMI Franklin County. They have a lot of free programs. They are kind of programs for the schools. One of the people we met during curriculum night was a high school health teacher asking about what we're doing with well-being and what kind of support we can offer to him as he's teaching mental health and mental illness during health class. So we connected him with NAMI Franklin County, and they have an Ending the Silence program. He was able to bring that 50-minute program into the class. It's just kind of ideas of what mental health is and reducing stigmas about mental illness. It's led by NAMI Franklin County, and then there's also a young adult who has lived experience, kind of being like, okay, this is what schizophrenia looks like, or whatever that particular disorder was that he had. Mr. Eckert was very pleased with the program. He felt that the students in his class really responded well to it. NAMI offers programming for staff members and also a parent community program. So we're kind of hoping to maybe bring that in next year. NAMI also offers support groups for families, parents, and individuals affected by mental illness. We were able to get the family support group started this year. They met for the first time last Tuesday, and we'll continue meeting once a month on the first Tuesday of each month.
Yeah.
Youth Mental Health First Aid. This program has been in the district before. We've had it come in the summer, teaching teachers how to, it's first, you have physical first aid if you break a bone or you see somebody with a cut or CPR. This is mental health first aid. When you run across a young person who appears to be having a mental health crisis, how do you respond? You're not going to solve their problem, but how do you deal with somebody, how you interact with somebody? And there's a lot of role playing with that and modules set up, and it's been great. We had a session in February, and we had 20 parents and community members come to that. And we hope to do more of those as well.
Mm-hmm. And on a personal note on that one, I was able to take it, I think 2 years ago when they had it for teachers, and Kelly Schubert let me and a few other members of the Wellbeing Initiative take it. And they talked about, how to talk to someone who you are worried about who might commit suicide, or, if they're really having a mental health crisis, what do you do? And I really had no idea. I would have thought you don't say, you don't mention suicide, you don't want to give them an idea. And they taught us in this class, no, you ask them and you you ask them if they're considering that. And I actually had to use that in my own life this year. And so I am so thankful for that program, and will definitely want to bring it to more of our community members. So Operation Street Smart was a great program that came pretty recently that we helped to promote. And it's just one more of those things where we can engage parents in difficult discussions and really start talking about things and being honest. And some of the things that they shared were shocking. That the alcohol, the drugs are so much stronger now and so much scarier. And really, I was so happy to know that, because sometimes parents are like, well, it's experimentation or whatever. And I mean, what these police officers said was, you can have fentanyl in something and it can kill you. And it really was kind of shocking, kind of where things have gone, especially with the internet. So I'm so thankful that the school brought that and that we were able to help promote that and go to that. And shameless promotion, like us on Facebook at New Albany Wellbeing. That's also, we're on Instagram at that too. We promote all the things that we do on there. We have we follow a lot of different organizations that we're partners with, and so we try to share their things. A funny story this year, I was with my fourth graders teacher. We were going over as in a conference, and at the end she was like, "Are you the one who does the well-being initiative?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "I'm kind of a super fan." I was so excited. So that kind of fell on me accidentally. I was not intending to do it, but it's cool that people are following that and reading these articles and talking about these things. So we're just so thrilled and just thankful that you guys have let us partner with you to do these wonderful things in our community. We're so excited about next year.
As you can see, Sarah and Diane are just completely lacking in enthusiasm. Are very difficult to work with. The reality is, all I have to do is give them just a breath of an idea, and they are off to the races. And the next thing we know, we've got a program in place, and that we're benefiting students and families because of their hard work. And so a very genuine thank you from me for your partnership, and it really has been a remarkable experience for me personally. So then that leads to the question, what's next? We do have these programs that are in place that we want to make sure that we're implementing with fidelity, that we're supporting in a way that's appropriate and helping them to be successful. And then we're going to follow the lead of our research that's coming in and showing us kind of what are the prominent needs that are out there. So the next couple things on the slide are just kind of a candid look at where do we see ourselves needing to provide more support. The research data is coming back clearly showing that our students in New Albany believe that vaping and electronic cigarettes are a safe alternative to smoking. It's not unique to New Albany. The Surgeon General has proclaimed it at an epidemic level nationally. So we're facing the same things that others are, but it's also given me an incentive and a personal commitment to see if we can go find resources to just help educate students and families as to what this actually means for their lives and to help them have a more informed approach to their decision making. At the elementary level, we want to continue to provide bullying prevention information, particularly from a bystander kind of perspective. So we don't have the classic bullying of someone stealing your lunch money on the playground, but we have that more subtle social exclusion kind of piece that we want to be paying close attention to. Research would tell you that it basically never happens in front of an adult where we can intervene. And so what we want to do is find programming where we can train students to be active bystanders, to say that's not who we are here in New Albany, and to take initiative themselves. That's also showing us too that there's a good portion that's taking place electronically. So we want to continue to have this digital citizenship piece that we're pursuing, making sure that we understand what's it mean to be a responsible citizen on the internet and using those technology resources. We have clear information indicating that New Albany students are struggling with anxiety, specifically around academics. And so there's just this thought of coping with the challenges that come with a high-performing district with families that have high expectations, with children that want to succeed at the highest level. As we speak children into existence, wanting them to pursue excellence in every endeavor, we also want to make sure that we're providing them strategies as to how do you cope with that and how do you manage those two things together. And then we also are finding more and more students coming in that are coming with trauma in their background. And so we want to make sure that our teachers and our students are equipped to be able to work with that and to be able to deal with that and to be able to support that so that they can fully engage in learning. That's how we're seeing ourselves heading out next year. I want to invite you now, if you have any questions or comments or anything that we can do to help you stay informed as well.
Thank you for the presentation, and thank you both for being, I mean, it was really good. And it's incredible to see the amount of programming that's already underway. And I think underway, and John, you'd be able to say this, without a ton of resources at your back, right? I mean, you're in terms of monetary resources.
Yeah, we have limited resources in that way, but we've got remarkable resources sitting around you right now. So if you think about just the partnerships I have with people that are all in at the school level, combined with a parent community that's all in, we've got a resource here that's unique, I think, that you don't see in a lot of school districts.
So with all these different programs, and I'm sure there are many other, you kind of answered the question with the last slide, but can you just walk again through the process of how you determine which programs you want to try or which ones you want to implement in the schools, and also maybe talk a little bit about the age levels. I know there are things that are happening all the way through, but what I love about a lot of these programs is that a lot of it's preventative, right? You're not waiting for something to be a problem. You're trying to inform and develop behaviors early on. And so what are some of the things that you think we could be doing even way down at the pre-K and K1 level to prepare kids for these challenges they're going to be facing as they're growing up?
Yeah, I think you've said it well. And we have so much more. I could have done a whole evening presentation just on the wellness initiative. Becky refused to let me do that this evening. But the reality is that there's a balance in here of people like Sarah, who have just this incredible energy and incredible desire to find programming and bring it in. There's a balance of taking that energy and then making sure that it's matched with data to make sure that the decision-making that you're doing is data-driven as opposed to just, hey, I just heard about a new program. And so we're taking a look at what Hanover Research, the company that we are connected to for our research, to see what it's actually telling us around where are our actual needs. Some of them we just know because we see them, but then others we want to have feedback from families and from students to sort of drive where we go. So we want to make sure that we're intentional in terms of the way that we do that. But if you dig deep into how we're organized, we've got a whole data management system around health and wellness. And within that, we've actually mapped out where all these programs are by grade. And so you can actually go in and see where are we heavy, where are we light? Where do we need to think about providing more programming? Where do we look like we're doing okay? A year or so ago, we decided we probably need to beef it up around drug and alcohol prevention. And so we go through Adam H. and connect with a drug and alcohol prevention specialist that's in our district now providing that resource for us. Right now, if you look at that list, we're light on the elementary end of things. And so we've done a really nice job of setting up the programming we need at the secondary level. And now we're also considering what are further programmings and resources that we can provide at the elementary level. Because we do believe, and Michael will get sick of me saying this, but we do believe in speaking kids into existence. The things that we say to them over and over and over time is who they will become. We just believe it. And we've seen it over and over. So we want to make sure that we've got the right people doing the speaking. And we want to make sure that we've got the right things being said so that they become who we want them. And that goes back to this wheel that says we want the end in mind. Who is it that we want them to become in the end? And then we need to start front loading that with programming. So that's one of the things. We didn't really emphasize it tonight, but as you look at those what's next steps, we are focusing really on secondary and elementary, to make sure that we're providing resources that are helping build from the ground up.
The other piece that I would add, just so the board understands it, is, and John mentioned Adam H. We have an incredible partner external from the school district through Adam H. in that they provide funding to actually pay for the Concord prevention clinicians that are on campus, as well as the drug alcohol counselor prevention clinician that's at the high school. So they actually fund the salary of that individual to be on our school campus every single day. So it's an incredible gift from Adam H. In addition to that, we have excellent partners back to the liaison work that both Diane, Sarah, and John continue to do within our community through the Community Foundation, specifically through the Columbus Foundation, or through other persons that have been generous within our local community that believe in mental health wellness, and mental health awareness, and have actually sponsored specific programs. So there's always opportunity to expand. It's one of the goals that we talked about related to fundraising and what's the specific aspect. But people do go directly to the foundation, and then through the efforts of Craig Moore and conversations with the school district and with Sarah and Diane, we match them to a defined need if it is research-based, back to John's point. So the research has to support the fact that there is a defined need to actually implement the program, or the education awareness, or a parent piece, or a parent-specific program that Diane and Sarah both referenced. So we're very fortunate that there is a mental health awareness campaign, in my book, that's going on within our community that actually does align to the school district. The Heights Center is one of the most recent partners, and although I've done a lot of work at the ELC with Michelle specifically for the Early Learning Center, it's really to help fill gaps, to John's point, for what's lacking in early childhood education programming towards mental health and wellness. And we will expand partnerships in all likelihood with the Heights Center come fall. Again, looking at early childhood education is one of the buckets that we need to continue to expand across the school district. But if you are interested from a Joe Public community perspective in supporting the cause, call John, call Sarah, call Diane. We'll be happy to sit down with you and talk about how you can get involved.
I just want to say how impressive it is from inception to now to see the amazing breadth of programming. And I want to thank all of you for your dedication to this. I completely subscribe to your idea that, you know, a child needs to be coming to school mentally and physically healthy and prepared to succeed. And for, you know, for us to do what we want to do academically with our students, they need to, you know, be coming in with their best energy and you know, having tools to deal with whatever's going on in their life. And I do think that more and more at younger ages, children are facing so much anxiety around just being successful in their, whatever their world is. And I think it's starting younger and younger. So it's wonderful to see us, and I'll echo John, looking at, you know, can we equip students with tools such as, you know, teaching them meditation and urban Zen, and educating them about the resources available. I think it's critical that we stay on this path, and I'm just so appreciative that for all of the wonderful work you all have done.
So much, thank you.
I'll just say thank you. I think it's a real challenge to take on everything from a stressed out kid who's trying to achieve all he can to somebody who's facing, you know, the biggest challenges in life, and to really try to tackle that whole spectrum. I see why you have 20 initiatives that you're trying to sort through. So, you know, if there are things that we can do to help you as you kind of maintain your focus areas, you know, let us know. But I think it is just one of those great things about this district and living in this community with all these resources. I'd love to see you pulling it all together. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So if you think back to the wheel that we had there earlier on, most of that wheel is talking about academic kind of pieces to it. But there's that section that's talking about health and wellness is really talking about the non-academic barriers that are out there. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce one of our newest partners to this collaboration that we have that's focused specifically on supplying the need and meeting the non-academic barrier that's in students' lives here in New Albany. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Rick Bannister with Neighborhood Bridges.
Thank you, Superintendent Sayers and board members for having me here. My name is Rick Bannister. I'm virtually a lifelong resident of Westerville. I'm a product of the Westerville schools. I've spent the last 25 years of my life supporting Westerville schools as a volunteer, as a school board member, and as a 7-time levy chairman. Which is why I look the way that I do. I'm actually only 35 years old.
Believe that.
But I'm addicted to the mission of public schools and a big supporter of teachers and administrators and counselors. So, and I'm really excited to be part of this presentation about well-being. I think you're going to like what I have to say based upon your earlier comments. But I was one of you. I was a school board member in Westerville 20 years ago. And my kids were in elementary school. We have 4 daughters. 3 are now college graduates, 2 are married. And our 4th daughter, Riley, is our gift. She's a freshman at Westerville South this year. But when I was on the board, my kids were little. And as they grew up through the schools, my wife and I started to see that things were changing in our community. And so I was eager to find a solution to address the needs that children have so that they can come to school every day. Because my personal belief is if children can be present, can come to school every day, that's where the magic happens, the first grade teacher that talked earlier. So I created a 501c3 charity called Neighborhood Bridges, and we launched on Martin Luther King Day in 2017. So I like to share this slide because the whole vision of Neighborhood Bridges is, remember I told you I've run 7 school levy campaigns, also run 8 school board campaigns for a total of 15. And so what I wanted to do was tap into my belief in the community that they want children to come to school full of hope and promise, opportunity, and access. So I like to share that slide because it really captures the essence of how can we help one another. So there are 2 truths behind Neighborhood Bridges. And again, we're a 501c3 charity. We're just over 800 days old now. And the truths that helped me develop this organization are that there are real unmet needs in every community. And I was certainly seeing that in Westerville. And the second truth is that there's an ample supply of kindness and resources to help us fill those needs. So Neighborhood Bridges is a campaign. It's a daily campaign for kindness. And so we take advantage of technology and social media devices that I use as a campaign chair to advocate for children and residents in a community. So this kind of completes the story here. Back when I was on the board in Westerville in 2000, our free and reduced lunch population in the year 2000 was 8%. Not a whole lot different than it is here. I think slightly higher than yours, but that's what it was. This slide was presented to Congress by the Brookings Institute the same month that I launched Neighborhood Bridges in January of 2017. This is what I was feeling in my gut as a parent, as a community member. If you see the line that increases the most dramatically at the end, that's the growth in suburban poverty since year 2000. So suburban poverty has had the most has grown greater. There are now more children and families living in poverty in suburban America than there are in the urban centers. So we create neighborhood bridges. So our mission statement is up there for you. It's to provide a gateway for kindness. So with my experience in Westerville, what I did was we invented technology. We created technology that is integrated with social media, tools that we give school districts. School counselors, most specifically here in New Albany, have all been trained and are advocates on New Albany bridges, where they can come every day and post a need for a child or a family in need. Everything is done, no names are ever exchanged. We don't allow that. We do that to protect them, but also to protect the school districts that we serve. But a way for people to advocate, and then we push those needs out to the community every day through our social media channels, through email, and through our website. And so, again, we take advantage. This is a daily campaign for kindness. This is about community engagement. Remember my experience as a levy chair. I knew every time I chair a levy that in Westerville, 3/4 of the registered voters in our school district don't have children in our schools. We are not dissimilar to any other community in that regard. I want to bring all those loving people into this equation on behalf of the children and families in this community. They want to be there. They're starved and looking for opportunities. So this is about community engagement. So we identify needs through our advocacy program. We do protect the privacy of those that we're serving at all times. And we also, through neighborhood bridges, I tried to think about what name I was going to give this endeavor. The word bridge is intentional because we're bridging resources to need, but I'm also, this is about speed and efficiency and kindness. So when we go into our communities, and we're now in 9 communities that we're serving, we bridge with other service providers. We do not replicate services. So we came to New Albany at the invitation of the food pantry. And Susan Kaiser Smith was the one that reached out to us. So what are we doing? Clothing, coats, shoes, personal care pantries, undergarments, belts. We are now, Neighborhood Bridges now has 48 personal care pantries in schools across Central Ohio. Westerville, Dublin, Worthington, Gahanna, Hilliard, and Grove City. Personal care items, so that things that kids are asking for, soap, shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrushes, things like that. Graduation caps and gowns, a lot of furniture in communities, all suburban communities across Central Ohio. A lot of families sleeping on the floor. They may have a house, but no furniture inside. Summer school intervention fees. We've put 60 kids over the last 2 school years through summer school in Westerville through support from the community. And these are not kids who are trying to take gym as extra credit in the summer. These are kids who are at risk of advancing to the next grade level and don't have the means to pay for it. School supplies and backpacks, homeless students, something that's cropping up in a lot of suburban communities. That number, there's 112 that our superintendent in Westerville knows about today in Westerville. Actually, it's 117 homeless students in Westerville. I cried about that for 2 days when I learned about that a couple years ago. I never even thought that we would have homeless students in our community. So those are the ways that we're helping. How's it going? I just sent you around our scorecard. We're a nonprofit, and I'm data-driven, just like John Hood is. I loved his presentation. And by the way, I'm kind of an expert when it comes to public schools from a volunteer standpoint. You are very lucky to have a person like John Hood. I have run into, he has few peers. Congratulations. We're going to succeed because of his thoughtfulness. But here's our scorecard. We're 800 days in, and we have bridged direct support and care to over 13,383 children and families in Westerville. That's an average of 16 children per day since the day we opened. I'm very proud of that. Through, if you look on the other side of the bridge, 1,267 advocates. Now, why is that important? Look at, I call it the first act of kindness. So when a counselor in New Albany comes and posts, a lot of times they are supporting up to 10 kids, through the repeated acts. I call it the first act of kindness. And then you can see our map at the bottom here, what communities we're in. I call that our circle of kindness, around 270. So I'm so pleased that we are able to have added New Albany to our circle of kindness. We now serve a population of almost 600,000 residents. We're going to launch later this week in Sycamore Schools in Blue Ash in Cincinnati. And earlier this year, we launched in Hoover, Alabama. So we have found a system that works. This is a bet on the human heart. Neighborhood Bridges says, we know that the community wants to help and they're starved for ways to do that. We just simply give them the opportunity. So here's your team in New Albany, and they're sitting right here, Linda Peel Brown and Vanitha Thomas. They are residents of this community. They are area directors. They are in charge. They're the boss. I do this in every community because, again, speed, efficiency, kindness. We don't want to replicate services. We want to solve problems. These are women with tremendous love in their hearts, and we're so excited to be able to serve you. Our work includes relationship with the New Albany Surgical Center, Justice, obviously Chief Hoovler of, is it Plain Township Fire?
Yes.
Is that the correct vernacular? Yes.
Plain
He was
Township.
great. You can see he's got his arms around our two area directors. Healthy New Albany, Abby Brooks, the Chamber of Commerce. We've pulled these resources together to support children here in New Albany. Thanks for having me today. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have of Neighborhood Bridges. Yes.
So how do people find out about there's a need?
Thank you. There was actually a slide that I had a video and it didn't work, and so I forgot. So thanks for that prompt. So here's how it works. And I'll do it very quickly, but a counselor here in New Albany who's already been trained can come to our site and advocate and say, we had one posted today, you have a student that needs a pair of glasses, and there are no funds to cover those expenses. So that need goes out, and it is posted to social media. Are you going to pull this up for us? Oh, thank you. Sure. Thank you very much. So here's our website and here's our communities.
Do this too. Just write down the URL.
Yeah, neighborhoodbridges.org/New Albany-Ohio. So what happens is a counselor in this school district comes and posts a need. And here's today's need. It was just posted by Vanitha this afternoon, but we have a student that needs eyeglasses. So that is posted. You can tell there's no detail there. We never reveal anything. We don't even ask that it be sent to us. That goes live on the website. The little social media icons, we then thread the need to our social media channels. So it goes out on social media first. At 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, if this need is not met by 10 a.m., all of our subscribers, and you can join our movement by just giving us your email, will receive an email at 10 a.m. tomorrow promptly that says, here's today's opportunity for kindness. And they'll get a note about that. They'll be able to click on it and simply say, I can help. Then they make a donation. In this case, we're trying to raise some money here. So they'll donate to PayPal. New Albany Bridges has their own PayPal account that goes into their own bank account at Heartland Bank. 100% of what's raised in New Albany stays in New Albany, 100%. And then our team takes it from there. So what we do is once those donations are made, we'll get that money together and go back to the advocate, the counselor who posted the need here in your district, and we'll make sure that that need is met through the advocate. That way, again, we never know who we're serving. Those 13,800 children that we've served, never met one of them. But that's how it works. So it's a campaign. It uses email, website, and social media to reach everyone in the community to give them the space that they want. The most common comment that we get across Central Ohio is, I love Neighborhood Bridges, but I can never get in. You fill the need before I see my email. And so we just say, hang in there, you'll get your shot. But that's how it works. Very, very simple.
How is New Albany learning about this? Like people who are not maybe parents?
So we've actually partnered through Patrick. We put it out in Newswire. So our parent community received it through Newswire. And then through the efforts of Vanitha and Linda, they've worked with Scott McAfee and Patrick to try to publish it through the city's distribution listservs as well. So our parent population clearly sees this. We do the hat and mitten drive, things that have been posted. There's some unique things. The eyeglasses have happened twice now, once at the elementary level, once at the secondary level. We had a dryer repair replacement that was requested specifically for a student that had a terminal illness. So it's interesting, but it goes back to it's a defined need that's verified. So I think it's important that people understand, because it's a question we often receive, and Rick said it, and I think Vanitha and Linda will say the same thing if they're contacted. You do not know who the student is. The confidentiality is maintained. So they are the conduit that then facilitates the process to come back to the school counselor. So this actually opened up a whole nother world for school counselors beyond our local resources. So we have incredible partners with New Albany Food Pantry, the Heights Center, because they're the parent now of the food pantry. We do a lot through that, but this gave us a whole nother vehicle to try to meet student needs in a different way than always going back to the food pantry, because it's not always food. Sometimes it is something that is monetary in nature that we then privately go out and try to solicit in a different way, because the kid, back to Rick's point, the eyeglass need will be filled by tomorrow morning. Somehow, some way, the kid is getting glasses.
That's right. Yeah, we're running it on this kind of scorecard. You'll see 2-year average, 800-day average across all communities at 98% fill rate, 98%. Now that's for 13,000. Someday that percentage is going to fall, but that's okay. That means that our needs we're really advocating.
But
Yes.
Debbie, the other piece is word of mouth. We need people to continue to talk about it. So that's why, as part of the wellbeing update this evening, we've chosen, because it's a new partnership through the food pantry with the school district, and we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's, and we've learned everything there is to learn, that we will now promote this as really to continue act of kindness, to join the movement, as Rick's demonstrated, for Neighborhood Bridges New Albany, and continue to partner with Vanitha Thomas and Linda Peel Brown, again, who are here this evening as the New Albany links, because they are citizens and residents of New Albany, to help us actually do this to benefit our kids in our school district and really the community at large.
Yeah, if I can just add a step, because I think you'll enjoy this, because I missed this step. But so if it's let's say it's a coat or a pair of shoes or a physical item of some sort, the donors, as soon as they donate, receive an automated message back from us saying, thank you for your gift of kindness. When convenient, take it to the fire station. The fire station has a donation box along with a stack of receipts. So it's like if you went to Goodwill or Salvation Army, the donor's receipted, then they contact Vanitha and Linda. Linda go and pick it up from the fire station. Who doesn't love to go to the fire station anyway, right? We all do. So the presence of first responders elevates this whole exercise, right? They're an honor to us. And then they pick it up and they will take it back to the advocate. The advocate will take that back to the final spot.
Right.
If it's something that can't be carried by hand, then we give them special instructions, because we don't want the fire department to be a warehouse for us. But if it's furniture, we pick up and deliver the same day. Pick up and deliver the same day. We don't inventory anything. We did it Saturday. We delivered beds to a family in Westerville who had no beds. We picked up beds and turned to the donor and said, somebody is using this today. And they are.
So in terms of identifying the needs, the teacher identifies the needs?
The teacher identifies the need and goes to the counselor here.
Okay.
So we're working through counselors here in the school district, and they're all registered and logged into the site. So they have special powers that they can post needs. And so that's the way it works.
Can someone who has a need file a need, or they ask a teacher? Or
They would contact building administrator or a teacher, so that can be happening through the building. So there's got to be a confirmation, and that's the one piece that Neighborhood Bridges is not part of. By the time they get it, it's been certified by the school district as a legitimate need, and then there's no questions asked. So we do the legwork necessary to verify and understand it. So building administrators and or teachers are the point of contact with the school counselor directly.
if a community member identified a need, they could come to the school district?
They can go to the food pantry. They could go to a mental health professional here in town, they could go to a first responder. They could go to clergy. But we're looking for that validation, that advocate, since we don't know who we're serving ever. But we're built on love and trust. So the superintendent said it better than I can, just exactly what he said. Once it comes to us, we hit the go button.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really look forward to this. I thank Vinitha and Linda, and we're going to do some wonderful stuff for you. We're going to use the summer to get all ramped up, and we'll be excited to see you at the start of next school year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is incredible programming, and just keep us posted on how we can best support you.
Thank you. We will. Thank you.
Vinitha and Linda, thank you very much for everything you're doing to help New Albany. It's wonderful.
Our next item is still really exciting and fun stuff. But it's the second reading of our 5-year forecast.
Oh, man, that's hard to follow, Becky.
I only have a 45-minute presentation, so it'll go quickly. Actually, if you remember, we presented the 5-year forecast at the April 22nd meeting. There were no recommended changes from the board. We then presented it to the Finance Review and Reporting Committee, and there were no recommendations for changes there. So the forecast that I presented on the 22nd is the one that I'm presenting now. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll be seeking your approval a little bit later in the agenda so that we can file on time.
Any questions? Okay. That takes us to an opportunity for public participation. Do we have anyone this evening? We have Dustin Weatherby. Mr. Weatherby, if you could just come to the podium. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, so I shouldn't need that long, but so my name is Dustin Weatherby. I'm the owner-operator of Sculpt Decor, which is a sculpture business where I specialize in animatronics, live demonstrations, and public works of art. You might have seen me at the New Albany Easter event that was going on. I did the ice carving out there for that. So I've been going into local schools and doing like these live art demonstrations because I'm trying to keep like art alive in the schools. So just recently I was in Upper Arlington Jones Middle School. I did a wood carving demonstration there for them, and they got to keep the piece. It was like a bust of a golden bear that they hung up in their office. And that was out of a pretty hard piece of wood. But I also did an ice carving demonstration for Hilliard Weaver Middle School the week before last. And I'm basically just trying to reach out and offer my services for the school district to do some of these these art demonstrations, just to kind of keep art alive, keep kids engaged in it, because I think that it helps them with their critical thinking and problem solving skills. And that's pretty much my elevator speech on that. So. If you have any questions for me or any ideas or anything like that, I have all my contact information. Sculptdecor.com is my website, and my email is sculptdecor@gmail.com. So I'd be more than willing to do something for New Albany schools like I've done with these other schools. The kids seem to be really receptive to it, and they like to see like the process of the art instead of just the final product all the time, so that's basically what I was here to present for. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming by. Typically with our public participation, we don't engage too much, so we have your information. We'll make sure we take a look at it, and someone will be in touch with you.
Great.
Okay, so thank you very much.
I have your website, so we'll follow up.
Great. Thank you for the time.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
So next we have treasurer's items, A through D. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Kalinowski, Mr. Newmoff, Ms. Jenkins.
So the monthly financial report, we continue on plan. We are still running above collections in revenue, which we expected. We really only have 2 revenue areas that are could be could have any changes at this point, and that would be in our state aid, which, they continue to pay monthly, and then in income tax sharing from the district or from the city of New Albany, and it actually is running ahead of schedule as well. And then we are still underspending in expenditures by $1.3 million. Then the second thing we have on the agenda is the May 5-year forecast, which we just talked about. Appropriation modifications, we have a few. The one you'll notice is $1.4 million increase to the general fund. If you remember at the April 22nd meeting, you approved a $1.4 million transfer to PI. So we have to increase general fund appropriations so that we can transfer those funds over. And then the second was on the addendum. That's a major dollar amount, was $1.5 million increase in PI, and that is for the retrofit and boilers that we have on the agenda for later today. And then you can see the other two, just an increase of $8,000 for an expense offset with fundraising activities. That's girls lacrosse. Then $18,000 increase in our allocation for IDEAB, which is special education funding, and then $16 increase for preschool funding. And those we just have to do because those are the allocations that we get from the federal government. And then the transfer of funds, which is to transfer the $1.4 million into PI.
Any questions? With none, I will take a roll call, please.
Ms. Kalinowski?
Yes.
Mr. Newmoff?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
President McClelland?
Yes. Now to superintendent's items A through C. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Kalinowski, Mr. Bush. Mr. Sawyers?
Thank you, President McClellan. Board of Education members, the personnel agenda this evening is quite long. You're reminded that it's May. May includes all the personnel action items remaining under Ohio Revised Code for the hiring of 2019-2020 school year. So as we continue to look forward to the future, that includes the renewal of administrative contracts that are expiring July 31st, the renewal of contracts for classified non-teaching staff across the entire school district that work hourly on a daily basis to meet the needs of our students. The renewal of contracts for limited contract teachers across our entire school campus, again, as part of the renewals for 2019-2020 and the upcoming school year. We have some resignations this evening, as well as contracts for 2 new certified staff members that are 2 new teacher hires for the 2019-20 school year as well. Many stipends to pay for the summer curriculum work that will occur across the entire school campus to meet the needs of curriculum revisions or professional development for teachers to ensure that we are adequately and sufficiently prepared for the 2019-20 school year. In addition to that, stipends for classified staff members and the certificated extended day banks, again for 2019-2020. Supplemental contracts that remain in preparation for fall, and then extended school year service time to, again, meet the needs of students with special needs and or contractual requirements. In addition to that, lastly, are the exempt contracts for new exempt 1,400 staff members, summer 1,400 staff members that will work part-time as student workers within the technology department on the addendum agenda, and or official teacher resignations prior to the July 10th deadline. Letter B this evening for general business includes multiple items again in preparation for 2019-20 and or the closure of the current school year. First and foremost is the approval of the Board of Education pending the successful completion of all the state minimum graduation requirements and all the requirements of the Board of Education to be certified by the high school principal, the graduating class of 2019. That will commence later this month. School fees for the 2019-20 school year for instructional purposes. Please note that there are no increases to school fees. Dominantly for the majority of the fees that are being recommended for next year, there's actually several that have reductions based upon the cost-benefit analysis of the fees that were done by the administrative team. Field trips that will happen prior to the end of the school year, including one that's actually for next summer. Specifically, this is the one EF trip that I pulled last month for correction purposes that was awaiting final information. So we are approving it to continue forward as with all the other international travel opportunities for our kids. a quote specifically for the site license for Lexia Core Learning. And then we have several other contracts that appear this evening. One specifically that I'll talk about in this section, and it's for the City of New Albany. So we have been working with the City of New Albany over the course of the last month to try to determine the additional repairs that would be necessary for the middle school, high school cafeteria loop to reopen upon the reopening of the Rose Run corridor in Dublin Granville Road. We delayed the construction in the loop for nearly 3 years because we knew the city was going to do something that would extend the park most likely into the campus, specifically at the middle school, high school bridge that's being created. That's all been worked out. The city's actually putting in gates along that property that belongs to us, but the city is paying for the gates and the entryway to connect specifically to the park design. We've gone through the assessment necessary for maintenance, the curbing replacement, the extension of the sidewalks, the grading, the topsoil, the curb movement, the new sod, and everything else that's on school district property. And rather than going out for bid purposes, we went to Messer Construction through the city to try to execute an agreement for change order that while they're doing the Rose Run corridor work, they would come into our property and do the work that we've delayed for the last 3 years. So tonight's board action item is actually to authorize Ms. Jenkins and I to negotiate and execute a contract through legal with the City of New Albany to actually effectuate that work that'll be paid for through permanent improvement funds. And again, we've been prepared to do the work. We've delayed the work waiting to see what was going to happen with the city. But before we reopen that loop, we do have to do work in that loop. And it should reopen in the fall for the start of the school year, or whenever Dublin Granville Road opens, the loop will be ready to open with the opening of Dublin Granville Road. Additionally, this evening, you have approval for the Daktronics quotes for the new high school varsity baseball and softball scoreboards and the high school stadium scoreboard. These will be paid for through permanent improvement funds with offset through advertisement sales. So we are exploring opportunities for naming rights, but to meet the contractual deadlines necessary to guarantee that the high school varsity stadium scoreboard will be installed prior to the first home contest in the fall, we have to order before May 15th. So that is being executed tonight. We will continue to try to look for sponsorship to sell the ads to offset costs associated to the boards, but we have to move forward for them to be operational for the beginning of fall sports in August. And lastly, in this section is the approval of breakfast and lunch prices for the 2019-20 school year. Again, there are no increases. The fees that are being charged for breakfast and lunch are the same as they are this current school year. And lastly, item C this evening are donations. As always, we're very, very grateful for all the support that our school district receives through generosity of others. And you see several that are represented this evening specifically for scholarship purposes, or the high school robotics club and team, based upon their world competition success and the donations that they were able to secure from others to help offset expenditures associated to that specific event and or future endeavors that the robotics team may have. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay. With none, could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Kalinowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Newmoff?
Yes.
President McClelland?
Yes. We have a second opportunity for public participation. And with none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Ms. Kalinowski, Mr. Newmoff, roll call, please.
Ms. Kalinowski?
Yes.
Mr. Newmoff?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
President McClelland?
Yes. We are adjourned. Our next meeting is a work session on Monday, June 10th at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.